and welcome to the channel Scene with Chips. If you've been here before, then welcome back. If you haven't been here before, then welcome. And please consider subscribing and pressing the bell button and even giving it a like so that you can be notified of videos that I'm making throughout the year. There we go then. Right, what I'm doing today is, as I'll explain in the first part of the video, my handlebars have never actually been the right sort of height for me. And so what this is all about is trying to get the handlebars to the right height. But I was going to make a complete video of the job and how it's being done, but it turned out to be such a difficult job to do, and I'll explain that why and the issues and tribulations that went along with it, that necessarily weren't the fault of us, but the fact that you order things from Harley Davidson and they send you the wrong part, and then the day you want to do the job they're closed, and it's and bearing in mind that where I go to get my my work done on my bike that I can't do myself, such as things like this, and you'll see why, is that I travel 137 miles each way to do it, as I go to my mechanic who actually is down in Anglesey. And so when I go down there and the job's all set to do, then it's a bit of a bugger when you suddenly find you haven't got the right parts. But as we go through the video, we'll see how we overcome this. Okay, so the issues that I'm having is that when I'm actually riding the bike and I'm on the bike here, the handlebars being as they are, I'm leaning slightly forward, and that's causing a little bit of ache in my shoulders. And so what I want to do is to rise them up a little bit more. Now, unfortunately, I've already put on 4.5-inch risers on here, and they should have been larger. So what I want to do is, I did order 2 spacers that can go underneath here, and as you see around there, and they'll go underneath there to rise that up another 2 inches. But unfortunately, when the actual spacers came, this flange here, then that wasn't as wide. It was the same width as the actual bar, and not taking in the width of this flange at the bottom. So if I had the riser underneath it, then under there and under there, then it would look like a right dog's breakfast, because it would be a thin bar here, and then this part would be thick, and then the bottom part would be thin again, which would not look too impressive. So having spoken to Jed and I told him the problem, he said, well, never mind. He said, what I'll do is I'll make some. So what he's done, he's actually manufactured some spacers for me, and I'm going to go down to his workshop, and he's going to fit them all. But obviously, excuse me, but obviously with regard to the rising up another probably 2.25 inches, maybe 2.5 inches, then these wires aren't going to be, the clutch cable and the brake cable aren't going to be long enough, and also the switchgear wiring, and that's not going to be long enough either. So I've purchased all the new switchgear and brake and clutch cables and indicator wiring as well, so that will all be extended. So then hopefully that should be okay. So we'll see how we'll see how it goes. Right, these are the spacers that Jed has manufactured for me from a piece of aluminium bar that he's kindly polished up to be the same colour as the triple tree. He's also drilled the hole to take the large, longer bolt that will go into the 4.5-inch pullback risers that I originally put on, but I wanted higher. When I set off on the Monday morning to go down to have this work done, I left at a very ungodly hour in the morning and got down to the workshop very early, so that we could get a full day doing the work. So having been greeted by a lovely bacon and egg sandwich from Jed's wife, Louise, before we got started, we went into the workshop. And so as I was sort of getting ready and going to see what was going on and perhaps film, I was greeted with a few expletives from Jed, who says, we're FUCT and we can't do the job. So I thought, oh, so heart sank. What's gone on? What's the problem? So he explained that Harley Davidson had sent him, although we've got the right part number, it seems as though the cable for the brake cable, which incorporated the ABS system, was the wrong cable. It was the right part number, but the wrong piece of kit. This cable here should have had a different end that goes into the ABS system or the ABS joint. It actually had two female joints as opposed to one male and one female. So unfortunately, we were absolutely knackered at that point where we couldn't do a thing about it. Right, so at this point we thought, we're snookered, aren't we? There's not a lot we can do about this. We've got the wrong cable, it's got the wrong connection on it. So we went in, had a cup of coffee. Louise made us another cup of coffee, and we sat down, had a think. Jed got his thinking cap on, and he said, "Do you know, I think I've got a way around this." So he said, I'm going to have to manufacture a piece of pipe that goes between, and I can actually, I think I've got in my spares box a joint or a coupling that might fit this. So off he went, and he decided, and obviously with piping that's going into braking, it needs to be flared so that it can go in so it doesn't leak. So a friend of his called Keith, who lives just around the corner, came along to the rescue with his flaring tool, and we manufactured a piece of pipe that would go between the wrong cable and the ABS box that it goes in. Right, so what Jed did, or what he managed to manufacture, if I can get, is this piece of piping here, if you can see it. I'm not sure how that's picking it up. Maybe I can go underneath there. And that piece of piping there, with that bend on it, okay, that was the issue, that had a female and that goes into a female, and that wasn't going to work. So this piece of piping here is a male and a female, so male going into there, female going into there, but that piece of piping was manufactured, flared on both ends, so that we had something to fit. The rest of the wiring seemed to go quite straightforward, apart from, you can see from there that there's an awful lot of wiring extensions that, because they're a lot longer, they've got to go into that small hole in the frame underneath the tank, which is a bit of an issue, I would have thought. However, Jed seems to be able to understand what all these wires are all about, which I have no idea, but bearing in mind he put a lot of this stuff on, so he knows where it all goes. And although he did say that it is a bit of an issue with all the extra wiring to try and get it into that small hole under the tank. However, as you wouldn't even doubt Jed for doing that, and he got it all in, the tank back on, all looking very neat. And I don't know where all those wires have gone, but he seems to have smartened it all up, cable tied it. It's looked as though it's all meant to be there. Right, here is the finished job. As you can see, the spacers on here, which were manufactured by Jed, which are these bits here and here. A fantastic job. All the wiring's in, the extension cables going to the clutch and the brake, and now we've got that. So with that, those spacers on here now, that gives me there's a 4.5 inch there, and I think they're 2 1/4, so that's 6 3/4 inches higher than the originals, which I think is going to be a lot more comfortable for me to ride. It certainly was on the ride home when I came home on Monday evening, so the ride back was a lot more comfortable than the ride down. Of course, with a SportGlide, you have a small fairing on the front, which of course that tends to hide most of what's gone on with cables and risers, etc. So as you can see, it looks very smart there with the handlebars a little bit higher. It's all about the comfort. As I've said already, the ride home was great, but the look's not too bad either. Well, as you can see, something that started off a little bit stressful, and we thought we weren't going to actually get the job done, it turned out all right in the end. I suppose that's having the luxury of being in a workshop where you can actually start manufacturing things rather than just being in your own garage where you've got the tools that you can do your odd oil change or whatever. But when it comes to doing jobs that are a bit more intricate, and that it's more to do with coming across problems. When you come across problems, then having well, first of all, the ability, but also the equipment to be able to solve the problems. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing and pressing the bell button. You know, subscription is free, although subscription normally means you pay for something. On this particular occasion, to YouTube, it's free of charge. So please subscribe to the channel. It helps with the building of it. And we'll see you in the next one. So bye for now.